वैष्णव भागवत गीता। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ, श्रीजी गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ। एई छै गोसाई करी चरण वंदन, जहाँ होते विघ्न नाश अभीष्ट पुराण। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय प्रभुपाद की जय हो। हरे कृष्णा। दंडवत प्रणाम फॉर ऑल डिवोटीज। हरे कृष्णा माता जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
Hare Krishna. Mataji, am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Mataji has told me to take the class today, so we will continue from where we left off. We were discussing the passing away of Bhishma Dev. So we will continue from that verse itself. We are yet to finish the chapter. So I'll just share my screen. Yes. So we were reading the passing away pastime of Bhishma Dev. So we'll chant the pranam mantra of 12 Mahajanas. Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahlado Janako Bhishmo Balirvaya Saki Vayam Dvadashaite Vijamino Dharman Bhagavatam Pataha Guhyam Vishuddham Durbodham Yajñatva Mrtamashnute. So in the last time we were discussing the 24th verse. We had finished reading the 24th verse. Today we'll start from 25th verse onwards. So uh, in this within these 24 verses, I'll just quickly sum up what has been discussed. So here the chapter begins by Prabhupada saying that Krishna has advised Yudhishthira and all the Pandavas to dress up very nicely and to go and meet Bhishma Dev so that they can get instructions, especially Yudhishthira Maharaj can get the instructions on how to rule over the kingdom and how to do away with all the remorseful attitudes that he has. So he asks all the Pandavas to dress up very nicely, and they all go and meet Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev is lying on the ground on a bed of arrows, just like a demigod who has fallen down. And all the Pandavas, including Lord Krishna, go down to him. And in that assembly, the all great rishis have come, all devarshis, brahmarshis, and rajarshis have come. And Prabhupada, then here in this discussion, Suta Goswami has explained who all have come, and Prabhupada has given very beautiful purports on some of the major devarshis, rajarshis, and brahmarshis. So Parvata Muni, Narada Muni, Dhaumya Muni, Vyasa Muni, Bradashva, Bharadvaja, Parshuram, and all those other great sages. Then Bhishma Dev received everyone very perfectly, although he was not physically able to go and receive everyone. Mentally, he has done that, and thereafter he starts glorifying Lord. So early at the start, when Yudhishthira Maharaj and the sons of the Pandavas, see Bhishma Deva, they are crying, and even Bhishma Deva is crying. So the Pandavas are crying because of pity, whereas Bhishma Deva is crying because of joy, because he always wanted to see Pandavas winning and ruling over the kingdom. And then Bhishma Deva starts the address because who will break the ice. So Bhishma Deva breaks the ice by first saying to Yudhishthira Maharaj, oh, what kind of terrible suffering and tribulations you had to go through. And this implies that Bhishma Deva understands Yudhishthira Maharaj's heart, that he is very remorseful for the countless deaths, and to do away with and to basically shun off all the remorseful attitude, he begins addressing Yudhishthira Maharaj, saying that all this has happened because you were irreligiously treated. So the sufferings and the tribulations that the Pandavas and Kunti Mata had to go through were not necessary, and because it was done as a karmic reaction, this war had happened. So this he addresses Yudhishthira Maharaj, and then he addresses his daughter-in-law Kunti, saying that I pity Kunti because her entire life has been that of pain. When she got married, she experienced the early death of her husband, and her sons even put her in more suffering, referring to the Pandavas. And then he says that all of this is because of inevitable time. And Prabhupada explains that in the devotee's life, sometimes Lord grants devotees some pain, and that pain is for the others to teach the others, saying that even if the devotee is going through pain, the devotee doesn't feel it. He or she doesn't take it as a pain. Basically, he or she takes it as a opportunity to increase the sadhana. So this is what Yudhishthir Maharaj had told, and then he says that, "Oh Yudhishthir," Vishwadeva says. So Vishwadeva says to Yudhishthir Maharaj, "Oh Yudhishthir, no one can understand the plan of Lord. Even though great philosophers have inquired exhaustively, they were all bewildered." Then uh, he addresses to Lord Sri Krishna, saying that he is that this Sri Krishna, that who is walking around us, walking with us as one of our family members, is he is none other than the inconceivable original supreme personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayana, the true enjoyer, and he has created all of this because of his self-created energy. So here Prabhupada explains the three energies of the Lord: the marginal, that is all of us, the external, and the internal. So as the material beings, we are all covered by Mahamaya, whereas the eternal forms of or the eternal devotees of the Lord, they are covered by the internal Maya, that is the Yoga Maya. Um, and then he says to Yudhishthir that please consider that the one whom you have considered as your material cousin or maternal cousin or your dear friend is the very personality of Godhead, and he is present in everyone's heart, and he is free from false ego of differentiation. He is equibalanced, and he is free from material inebriety. Upon saying that he is equibalanced, Bhishma Deva then addresses in the 22nd verse, saying that although he is equibalanced, he is equipoised, but he is little bit inclined towards his devotees. And that is why he has graciously come before me while I'm ending his life, because I am his unflinching servitor. And 23rd verse, he says that the personality of Godhead appears in the minds of devotees by attentive devotion and meditation and by chanting the holy name, and thereby releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of quitting the material body. And in the last verse that we have discussed, he says that may my Lord, who is four-handed and whose beautiful decorated lotus face with eyes as red as the rising sun is smiling, kindly await me at time of death when I quit this material body. So we know that Bhishma Deva had the benediction of leaving his body only when he desires so. It was given to him by his father Shantanu. So now we are towards the end of his pastime of living away. The next verse, that is 25th verse. Suta uvacha yudhishthirastadaran karnya shayanam sharapanjare apruchadvi vidhana dharman rishinam chanu shunvatam. Translations and purports by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Yudhishthir, after hearing Bhishma Deva speak in that appealing tone, asked him in the presence of all the great rishis about the essential principles of various religious duties. Purport. Bhishma Deva, speaking in the appealing tone, convinced Maharaj Yudhishthir that he was very soon passing away, and Maharaj Yudhishthir was inspired by Lord Krishna to ask him of the principles of religion. Why? Because Bhishma Deva is Mahajana, and Yamaraj has confirmed that all the Mahajanas are very well versed and very well aware of the religious principles, and the only religious principle is the Bhagavata Dharma, or the religion of God. Lord Shri Krishna inspired Maharaj Yudhishthir to ask Bhishma Deva in the presence of many great sages, indicating thereby that the Lord's devotees, like Bhishma Deva, although apparently living as a worldly man, is far superior to many great sages, even Vyasadeva. Another point in is that Bhishma Deva at that time was not only lying on a deathbed of arrows, but was greatly aggrieved because of that state. One should not have asked him any question at that time, but Lord Sri Krishna wanted to prove that his pure devotees are always sound in body and mind by dint of spiritual enlightenment, and thus, in any circumstance, a devotee of Lord is in perfect order to speak of the right way of life. And we have all seen, if someone has not seen the final moments of Prabhupada, please do go and see this. It is very heartening to see Prabhupada at lying on a bed during his final moment before he disappeared. He was still narrating the purports, the translations to Srimad Bhagavatam, and there were devotees all around him with a recorder in their hands, trying to record whatever he was translating. And this happened right till the final moment. Not just Prabhupada, even our Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, we have seen that during his even his final moments, he was worshipping the Lord. If not possible, if it was not possible for him to stand up and worship, he was mentally worshipping. And I guess many of us have seen that video where he was taking rest, but in his dreams he was worshipping the Lord, and his hands were moving like this. So Lord is proving by the example of various great devotees that even the great devotee, even though the devotee is in the material world acting as one of the worldly men, that person is far, far, far above than the sages. And here Prabhupada has compared the Shaktiavesh avatar of Lord as Vyasadev, saying that Bhishma Dev is better than even Vyasadev. So, yeah. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, Yudhishthir also preferred very, this is, yeah. Yudhishthir also preferred to solve his problematic questions by asking Bhishma Dev rather than ask anyone else present there who was seemingly more learned than Bhishma Dev. This is all due to the arrangement of the great wheel carrier, Lord Sri Krishna, who establishes the glories of his devotees. The father likes to see the son become more famous than himself. The Lord declares very emphatically that worship of his devotee is more valuable than worship of the Lord himself. So, Lord Sri Krishna is always eager to basically prove to the world, to show to the world how glorious his devotees are. And this has been happening for time immemorial. Very recently, if we see, we have got various examples of our acharyas where their Lord has arranged such a nice circumstance that their glories are automatically sung. We can see the life of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, we can see the life of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we can see the life of Prabhupada. Um, Even though there were so many reversals and tribulations in their life, they never they never thought about it, and it didn't affect them. But their glories are sung not just within ISKCON but outside ISKCON as well. Uh, Recently, during the Tirobhav Divas of Prabhupada, the Prime Minister Modi ji had himself made a stamp for Prabhupada. So we have seen all these examples. So the next verse, 26th verse. पुरुषस्वभावविहितान् यथा वर्णं यथाश्रमं वैराग्यरागो वैराग्यरागोपाधिभ्याम् आम्नातो Bhyaya Lakshanan. Translation of Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. At Maharaj Yudhishthir's inquiry, Bhishmadeva first defined all the classifications of caste and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualification. Then he systematically, in twofold divisions, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. Purport. It's a very long purport, so we'll read it one by one. The conception of four castes and four orders of life as planned by the Lord himself, Bhagavad Gita 4.30, is to accelerate transcendental qualities of the individual person so that he may gradually realize his spiritual identity and thus act accordingly to get free from the material bondage or conditional life. In almost in almost all the Puranas, the subject matter is described in the same spirit, and so also in the Mahabharata, it is more elaborately described by Bhishma Deva in the Shanti Parva, beginning from the 60th chapter. So here, Prabhupada is explaining how Lord has created the Varna and the Ashrama system, and Lord wants that everyone should be following Varna Ashram system. It is because of the Varnashram system that a living being, that an individual soul gets the opportunity to gradually realize their spiritual identity. The Varnashram Dharma is prescribed for civilized human being just to train him to successfully terminate human life. So Varnashram Dharma, uh, very beautifully, some years back, there was a discussion on how and on what should be the subtitle to ISKCON's name. So we know ISKCON has been written as we have a logo ISKCON, but there has to be a subtitle. So there was a joke made that ISKCON subtitle should be the art of dying. So there is the art of living, but we teach art of dying because Varnashram, we are following Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita tells us, prepares us on the art of leaving our body. So if someone is in Varnashrama Dharma, that person would be able to successfully terminate their human life and in the prescribed way. Self-realization is distinguished from the life of the lower animals engaged in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. Bhishma Dev advised for all human beings 9 qualifications. So here Bhishma Dev has given 9 qualifications for all human beings, irrespective of the Varna and Ashrama. Not to become angry. The first and foremost is not to become angry, not to lie, to equally distribute wealth, to forgive, to beget children only by one's legitimate wife, to be pure in mind and hygienic in body, not to be inimical towards anyone, to be simple, and to support servants or subordinates. So, in these 9 principles are the principles of the Vaishnava Dharma. So, we also know Trunadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Sahishnana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. So if we see these 9 principles, we see the connection to Trunadapi Sunichena. So Trunadapi means basically to be humble. And with humility, what comes? We become pure in our mind. We are not inimical to anyone else. We become very simple and Tarorapi Sahishnuna. And we have to become very, very tolerant. So if we are tolerant, we will not become angry, we will not be lying, and we will be able to forgive. Tarorapi Sahishnana, Amani Manadena. So we should not be hankering to be respected. That includes to support servants and subordinates. Na Manadena. And we should be able to respect others. And by respecting others, we will be able to distribute well properly. We should be able to beget children. We'll be able to respect our own wives. And we'll be able to beget children only by our once legitimate wife. Kirtaniya Sadahari. And by Kirtaniya Sadahari, it will be basically not to be inimical to oneself, not to be inimical to anyone else, to be pure in mind, to be hygienic in body, to support servants and subordinates, to be simple, and each and everything is covered in Kirtaniya Sadahari. Because to chant the Lord's name, these are the primary qualities that will help us increase our sadhana and increase our attraction to the holy name. So basically, Bhishma Dev has told us to has advised all the human beings of these 9 qualities. One cannot be a civilized person. Yeah, one cannot be a civilized person without acquiring the above mentioned preliminary qualities. So in Varnashrama, these 9 qualities are important, and those who don't follow these 9 qualities are outside the Varnashrama. So we have got Mlechas, we have got those people, those communities that eat dog meat. So all of these are not within the Varnashrama. So if you are following, if anyone is following these qualities, that automatically makes us into the Varnashrama system. One cannot be a civilized person without acquiring the above mentioned qualities. Besides these, the Brahmanas, the intelligent men, the administrative men, the mercantile community, and the laborer class must acquire special qualities in terms of occupational duties mentioned in all Vedic scriptures. So along with these, depending upon the Varna and the Ashrama, depending on the Varna especially, there are certain additional qualities that are required. For the intelligent men, for the Brahmanas, controlling the senses is the most essential qualification. It is the basis of morality. Sex indulgence, even with a legitimate wife, must also be controlled, and thereby family control will automatically follow. An intelligent man abuses his great qualifications if he does not follow the Vedic way of life. This means he must seriously make a study of the Vedic literatures, especially of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. For learning Vedic knowledge, one must approach a person who is 10% engaged in devotional service, who is 10% engaged in devotional service. He must not do things which are forbidden in Shastras. A person cannot be a teacher if he drinks or smokes. In the modern system of education, the teacher's academic qualification is taken into consideration without evaluation of his moral life. Therefore, the result of education is misuse of high intelligence in so many ways. And it's very true. I can relate with this because uh, I have seen that in my profession, as one of the faculty members in BNIT, I have seen that in my profession, people have misused their powers, misused their the rights and duties given to them in so many horrible ways. Either it could be in the academic misuse. We know the example of the nuclear power being used to make an atomic bomb, and once a country acquires atomic bomb, that country starts proliferating the use of weapons, starts creating more weapons. All of this is not required. And then we have also seen the moral misuse of power, and there have been several instances where children have been when kids, college going kids, have been molested by the teacher himself. So a person cannot be a teacher if he drinks and smokes. Prabhupada says. In the modern system of education, only the academic qualifications are seen. So to acquire a job in a government engineering college, the primary qualification is that of a PhD. So if you have a PhD, if anyone has a PhD, and if anyone has acquired enough experience either through research or through industry, that person is given a job. But there is no eligibility criteria for the morals that a person has, and that is why we see that many a times um, teachers are exploiting the innocence and the vulnerability of the students. And we have seen this. It has, although it has, I have been very fortunate. I and Jagadanvaya have been very fortunate to not experience this firsthand, but we have second-hand experience on how various so-called very high-class professors are exploiting their doctoral students and making them do very menial work, like getting vegetables for their houses, or taking their children to a walk or dogs to a walk rather than doing the research. So this is basically pure exploitation, and that is only because the colleges are just seeing the academic qualification and not the moral qualification. The Kshatriya, the member of the administrative class, is especially advised to give charity and not to accept charity in any circumstances. And Prabhupada has written this in italics. So Kshatriya is not supposed to take charity in any circumstance. Rather, it is he or she has to give charity. Modern administrators raise subscriptions for some political function, but never give charity to the citizens in any state function. It is just the reverse in injunctions of the Shastras. We have seen that the modern administrators, many a times, all the political parties, they take subscription fees for political functions, but they don't give charity. And that is the entire reverse of the Shastras. The administrative class must be well versed in the Shastras, but not but must not take to the profession of teachers. Although they are very well versed, they should not be teaching. The administrators, now again, there's italics over here, the administrators should never pretend to become non-violent and thereby go to hell. So, if someone is administrating, the person should not pretend that we have become non-violent, because Kshatriya class, they have to use violence to uphold dharma. When Arjuna wanted to become non-violent, covered on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was severely chastised by Lord Sri Krishna. The Lord degraded Arjuna at that time to the status of an uncivilized man for his avowed acceptance of the cult of non-violence. The administrative class must be personally trained in military education. Cowards should not be elevated to the presidential throne by dint of numerical votes only. So here Prabhupada is saying cowards should not be elevated to the presidential throne just by the votes. That means basically a democratic system. And Prabhupada was very against our democratic system. The monarchs were all chivalrous personalities, and therefore monarchy should be maintained provided the monarch is properly, regularly trained in the occupational duties of a king. So, monarchy is the best type of governance provided the king is properly trained in the occupational duties of a monarch. In fighting, the king or the president should never return home without being hurt by the enemy. The so called king of today never visits the warfield. He is very expert in artificially encouraging the fighting strength in the hope of false national prestige. As soon as the administrative class is turned into a gang of mercantile and laborer men, the whole machinery of the government becomes polluted. The best example of a king in the recent times that we can relate to by reading Prabhupada's purport is Shivaji Maharaj. So Shivaji Maharaj never just gave orders that go and fight the Mughals, go and fight, go and win that fort. He personally went with the Marathas, and we have seen so many instances. We have read in our history books that there are so many instances where he was hurt very badly or he was captured. He and Sambhaji were basically captured by Aurangzeb. He was not a coward, and the coward and his Rajya, his Samrajya was one of that. It was so glorious, and there have been so many instances. If we read our history books, we know there are so many kings like that. There were the Cheras, there were the Pandyas, the Cholas, the Pallavas, the Rajputs. It is only when the Mughals and the Britishers came, the idea of a democratic system came, and we know what kind of nonsense takes place sometimes in democracy. Thank God we have a prime minister now who is little bit devotional, or else in earlier times we have seen what kind of nonsense has been taking place in the name of democracy. So, the administrators should never pretend to become non-violent. And we have seen that for every terrorist attack, there has been a counteraction taken by our prime minister. That is one thing which is very good. We should not be cowards. We should not just propagate non-violence for the name sake of it. Non-violence basically means to be non-violent to those who are lachars, to those who are pitiful, who are not having anything to defend. But those who have got everything to defend with, for them, and as a Kshatriya dharma, it is allowed to be violent to uphold dharma. So we will stop now. We will stop now because it's already 9:15. And tomorrow we will start from reading the Vaishya and the Shudra class, and for the other ashramas, what has been the advice given to us by Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shukdev Goswami ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So
थैंक यू
Mataji,
प्रभु जी, वो सो
thank you,
वंडरफुल
Mataji.
क्लास। थैंक यू प्रभु जी।
Thank you, Mataji.
प्रभु जी,
Mataji.
मगर ये जो 9 क्वालिटीज से बताई गई है, नाम करंट सिचुएशन में उसका सब उल्टा ही हो रहा है।
हाँ माताजी, तो इसलिए हम लोग को प्रभुपाद बार बार बता रहे हैं पट में कि हमको नहीं करना है ये चीज।
हाँ, यस यस।
जी माताजी, हरे कृष्ण
धन्यवाद
माताजी।
प्रभु जी।
वाचा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्यैव वच पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। थैंक यू माताजी। माताजी, आई विल एंड द क्लास फॉर एवरीवन।
यस यस, दंडवत प्रणाम टू ऑल डिवोटीज, दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी।